They say that we make 80% of our life's decisions before our 35th birthday. Today, we are going to talk about growing after 50, the different stages of life, and things that I have learned just since I hit about my 55th birthday. I hope you'll stick around. If you don't know me, I'm Bonita. I'm from rural Kansas. I retired a little over a year ago. I have 6 adult children, 14 grandchildren, and a multitude of sons and daughters in laws. So, right now, I'm an empty nester. I am here a lot of times by myself. My husband has decided to continue working. And so, this last year since I retired has been a huge path of growth for me. And I just wanted to share some of the things that I've learned with you. It's amazing how much I have reflected just since I've started this YouTube channel, and January will be 4 years. My goal is to hit 8,000 subscribers by January 15th. We'll see if I make it or not. I appreciate all of you that come here 3 times a week to listen to me. So let's get started today. They say the stages of life are dreamer, 0 to 18, explorer, 18 to 36, builder, 36 to 54, mentor, 54 to 72, and giver, 72 to 90. I found this really interesting because I feel like I have always been a dreamer, and I have an older son that gets that quality from me. I'm always dreaming about the next vacation or something I want to do. I spend a lot of my time dreaming and planning the next fun thing or adventure in my life. And that has not stopped. In fact, since I got closer to retirement, it actually started getting even more so. I started dreaming about what I would do when I didn't have to get up and go to work every day, what I would do when my kids were all out on their own, self sufficient, and I didn't have to worry about them taking care of themselves, what I would do when all my bills were paid and I was debt free. So I don't think that dreaming really stops. I remember the time between 0 and 18 when I would dream about being out on my own and what I would do when I was an adult. And I remember the first thing I wanted to do was to buy like a big package of Oreos, sit down, eat the entire package, and no one could tell me that I couldn't. I've yet to do that. That was what my dream was when I was a kid, dreaming of being an adult. And then the explorer part of 18 to 36, I think that's when we're like building our career, exploring what we really want in life, choosing our life partners, maybe choosing where we want to live. I think that's why they call that part of our life the explorer part. Then the builder, the 36 through 54, I think that's when we are like building up our homes, building our families, we are building our career and maybe going to next levels. We are deciding that we are going to have more security by owning things, owning more things. And we look towards those things as a sense of security. And I think that builder part is where we are trying to build our future then for the next part that is retirement. The mentor part of 54 to 72 is definitely right. I started my YouTube channel at 55, and there are so many YouTubers right now that are over 50. And we are being told that we have a lot to contribute as mentors to younger people, to peers, because we have lived now all of these years, learned so much, made so many mistakes, and we are starting to figure a few things out here and there that we can share with others. And if you've been in your career a long time, a lot of times you can be the mentor in this stage as you're taking on new recruits and training people. I know I trained several nursing home administrators under me that were just getting their license. So those things fall into that category. And then the giver part of 72 through 90, you have so much information to give, so much love to give, and time to give to your family and your friends that is so valued during that period of your life. So I found those stages really interesting. And sometimes I look in the mirror and I'm like, wow, I have like a gray hair that goes like all the way down on one side. I'm like, when did that happen? But, those things creep up on us, and we look in the mirror and we say, wow, I have my mother's hands. I'm starting to look like my dad. We start to see those things. Sometimes kids won't look like their parents at all, but as they age, they start looking like their parents. My nephew is only 5.5 years younger than me, and he walked into my house yesterday, and I never said it, but I told my husband when he left, wow, he looks like my brother. And I can definitely see as he's aging that he is looking like my brother. That happens. It happens to all of us. And sometimes it's a surprise even to ourselves. My husband said he will look in the mirror to shave and said, oh my gosh, there's my dad. So it's funny how we age. We don't feel old on the inside, but we look in the mirror and we surprise ourselves sometimes. As an empty nester, I have learned so much. So much of my life was focused on raising my kids, getting them to events, making sure they had what they needed, making sure that they were fed, always being available if they needed me. My entire focus from the time I got out of bed and went to bed was my kids. Even if I was at work, my focus was I am at work to take care of my children and give them a good life. That was always my focus. So once they were able to take care of themselves, support themselves, move out, you get this lost feeling of what does my life look like now? What am I going to do? No one needs me like they have for all of these years. And what am I going to do now? It's a really important stage in your life to take the time to evaluate what your life is going to look like now, maybe what you want it to look like now. And one of the things that I have found that is so important is to forgive ourselves at this stage, to work on self forgiveness. We may look back at raising our kids and say, wow, I didn't do as good of a job as I could have, or I could have handled this situation better. And I regret that I didn't handle it better. And I have found most of the time when I have apologized for these things that have bothered me, my kids or someone else doesn't even remember the incident. It wasn't a big deal to them, but it was a big deal to me. And I held on to that. And learning to let that go and forgive yourself and say, hey, I did the best I could at the time. I made the best decision I could at the time. I should have handled it better. I could have handled it better, but it's over now. And I need to let that go. That is a big part, I think, of finding our contentment and our happiness after 50 and after our kids have moved away. I look at things that I do now in observation mode, which seems weird. I analyze things that I do now that I never had the time to think about before. I'm like, why am I doing it this way? Wouldn't it be better to do it this way? wow, I should have been doing it like this the whole time. But we are so busy in those other phases of life that sometimes that growth after 50 kind of hits us and says, and we say, wow, I could have been smarter about some of the things that I'm doing or the ways that I'm doing things. It's not too late. I'm going to start now. And so a lot of that growth can happen after 50 just because we have more time to reflect and observe our own actions and our own things that we're doing day to day. After we notice those things and we take some actionable steps, maybe to eat better, to exercise more, to get more rest, then we can make better decisions. And all of those things just flow together in a continuum after you reach 50 and after your kids have grown. For me, it probably started about 54, but we all fall in that range. So depending on the ages of your children and when you're an empty nester, when you decide to retire, all of those things will play out maybe at a little different time frame for each of us, but I feel like they're all important steps that happen as we age. So I am considered now a middle adult. Middle adults are age 40 through 60. I'm not in the older adult stage that happens over 60, but I'm getting close because I'll be 59 in January. A young adult is considered 20 through 40. I wish I would have known that when I was 40. But yes, that those are the three stages of adulthood. And they say that the years between 20 and 30 are crucial to building how self sustainable we are, self reliant we are, self confident we are. Those 10 years, we build on those the rest of our lives. So, one of the things that I have really learned since I have retired, become an empty nester, is I have had to learn to enjoy my own company. I have had to learn to be alone, and that was really hard for me after raising 6 kids. I had never really been alone. Maybe 1 or 2 would be somewhere, but I had the rest at home, and I was always surrounded by people, and then when no one was here, it was almost like a slap in the face because I was like, "What do I do now? I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do without somebody that needs me." And I had to really reflect on that and decide I needed me. I needed me, and I needed to be able to figure out what would make me happy now, that it was okay for me to focus on me. Maybe for the first time in my entire life, I could focus on me and getting more rest, being less stressed by not having a demanding job, and learning to enjoy that time alone, I found was so beneficial because not only did I learn to enjoy time alone and enjoy things that I like to do on my own for the first time in about 40 years, I learned that that time is so important to recharge my battery for other people. And I reflected back and thought, that's why I was so stressed all those years because I was in such a hurried state and I never had time to recharge my battery. But now I do. And by recharging my battery, I find that when I'm listening to people tell me maybe about a stressful work situation or a stressful family situation or some kind of conflict they're having in their life, I have the ability to be more empathetic. I have the ability to listen better than I ever have before because I don't have all this junk running around in my head telling me, you need to do this, you need to do that, you're late for this. I'm able to sit back, listen, be empathetic in a less stressed manner, and take some of that in and give them some comfort back. That's something I never felt like I really was able to do before because I was always so hurried. And that has been a huge growth experience for me, to be able to sit there and listen to other people's troubles at times and not let that overwhelm me like it did before. Recharging my battery gives me the ability to not react to things that I might have reacted to before, and just sit back and let them happen and let them flow off of my back and not let them get to me. And that has been a huge bonus to being over 50, is the ability to be able to do some of those things that I wasn't able to do before. Let me know if you've noticed any growth in any of these areas or stages that I've talked about today. I think it is wonderful that we have this platform that we can visit and we can discuss these things. Some of these things are things that just never would have been discussed before I had a YouTube platform where I had friends my own age and people that we could talk to and comment back and forth. I love that as I'm learning these things, I'm able to share them with you, and I hope that they're helpful to you as well. I hope to see you in the next video. We'll get back to some more frugal topics and early retirement topics, and thanks for being here.